What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/AllNBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Tim Legler. Legs, we had a great night in the league 2 nights ago. We had a good night last night. How are you doing today?
Good, man. Good. Yeah, there was some interesting games last night for sure. Had that earlier travel day, so it's nice when I get to a city because I've got Lakers Thunder tonight. I'm in Oklahoma City, and when I get to the city a little bit earlier, it's nice. I can get to the hotel and just sit back and watch games, like just straight as they're happening, which is harder to do when I'm at home. When you have a family, it's a little harder to watch every game while it's happening. So I stayed up really late at home. This was pretty good. I got to watch a couple of games last night that were interesting to me.
Do you prefer watching live or watching on replay where you can go through a game quickly and slow things down? What do you prefer?
Totally depends on the context of the game. If it's a big game,
Sure.
I'd much rather watch that thing live. But like, it's not practical to have that much time to watch 2.5, to 2:45 of a game, or if there's a doubleheader, it's hard, man, to commit 10 hours to it while it's happening when you're at home, when you got a wife and I got a son that's going to be 4 in about 10 days. Like they kind of want your time. So I'm a night owl, man. So that's why I will stay up and get my family time in. And then it's easier to watch them when you can zoom through the commercials later. It's just easier for me.
Well, on today's show, we're going to go through a couple games. You watched Celtics Sixers. I did not see that one, but you have some thoughts on it, so we'll get to that one here in a little bit. We're also going to talk about Nico Harrison finally fired from the Dallas Mavericks. Can they move on now? And what would you do, Legs, if you were taking the reins of Dallas Mavericks right now? Would you really tear it down and rebuild? We're going to talk about that later on. And then because Monday night was such an entertaining night, we're going to talk about our most memorable nights in the regular season at the end of the show. That should be a fun discussion. I got a couple. I know Legs has one in particular, so we'll talk about that at the end. But we're going to start with the game I watched last night. Not particularly a great game, but there was one great team and one great player in it. And the Denver Nuggets beat the Sacramento Kings 122-108. And the highlight of this game was that Nikola Jokic scored 35 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists, kind of an average stat line night for him. 16 of 19 from the floor, Legs. And that has been the story with Jokic this year. Every year he does something a little bit different. It's one of the things I like about him. Some years passing a little bit more, rebounding a little bit more, scoring a little bit more. This year, it's not missing shots. He is shooting from the three-point line 36%. From twos, he's shooting 79% on twos on the season. And that's without dunking, Legs. That's just little flip shots and tip shots from the paint. 79%. And you saw it last night where he only missed 3 shots the entire game of his 19 attempts. That's what stood out to me, Legs, in this game. But where do you want to start with Jokic or somewhere else?
Yeah, I want to start with something first. And several times, first of all, I'll turn my phone off because it's making a lot of noise. Several times this season, Adam, I've thought about this because there was a change made to something that you and I both, I don't know if you use this particular site every day, but I do for checking NBA stuff. It's the ESPN homepage because that's where I typically go to get my box scores. Where do you go?
That same, but they changed the box score this year. And it's a little frustrating.
Thank you. Yeah. That's my point. I can't stand it.
It's so true. I'm so with you on this.
Why did they do it? Why do I have to go all the way across the page to see what guy shot from the field?
I know.
Why?
It's confusing. You're right.
I'm telling you. So let me ask you a question. No, this is just driving me nuts. And a reason.
Me too.
The reason it led perfectly into this is because you're talking about his shooting night and his efficiency and his shooting overall, which is exactly where I wanted to start. And of course, we pull the box score up, and I got it right here, and I look over, and I got to scroll all the way across the page to find out what he shot, to remind me, because I knew it was something ridiculous, but I didn't know exactly. Why are we doing this? Why do we constantly overthink everything? The box score was perfect the way it was.
It really was. I don't know why it changed.
I don't know about you, but this is typically the way I work a box score. And this was a game I watched. If I didn't watch the game, this is even more important. If I need to know a box score, okay, just get a context of who did what in the game. It's almost always You want to go to points first. Like typically you do. Just boom, points. How many points this guy get, right? Then I want to know exactly immediately right after that, what was his efficiency for the night? Okay? I don't want to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 columns to get to know what the guy shot.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Anyway, I'll take this up with my people. This is ESPN. I will take this up with them and see if I can get this thing reverted to what it used to be. And I bet you 90% of the people out there agree with us.
It's so funny, man, because I haven't seen this conversation, but you are right. I have had this exact thought where I'm like, man, this is a downgrade for no reason. I don't get it. So
what are you doing? It's just somebody in a meeting threw that out there and somebody co-signed that. What are you doing? Just stop. Talk to the basketball people.
I love that people in the chat are with you too, man. It's so funny because I would have thought this was such a niche thing that I was the only one. So I love that you brought it up, and here's the chat agreeing with you. So I love it.
Yeah. I mean,
if you get this fixed legs, this would be incredible. You're right. You get your people.
I know. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm taking up the cause. I'm telling you right now. I'm taking up the. I think I have a little bit of clout there, a little bit of leverage. Okay, I think they should trust my basketball mind a little bit to know that basketball people want it the way it was, and we're going to get it back, Adam. We're going to get it back. I'm telling you right now. I'm determined.
I love this.
Anyway, that aside, okay. Now, you're 100% right, because that's what I'm thinking about during the game. And you make a great point. Most of the guys that shoot, even for a stretch of games, if it's like a 10-game stretch, much less on the year, in the high 60s, approaching 70% from the field on 2-point shots, most of those guys are lob dunk threats.
Yep.
That's what they do. Gafford is a great example. What Gafford made, like 33 shots in a row, right? Or whatever it was during that streak he had a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Because it's so
all
easy.
Lobs.
Catch and finish. They don't even get the ball ever with their back in the low post, with their back to the basket, guarded by somebody. They're not navigating double teams. They're certainly not running high ball screen and catching the ball on the short roll, or like making those decisions with the floaters, the runners, the stuff he did last night. If you just ran through a quick snippet of all 16 made shots, you would see such an array of shot making in this game that looked so absurdly easy to him. It really was, for as great as he's been, man, as much as we've said about the guy, he still has the ability to do that to you on a given night, where you literally can't believe how simple it looks for him and how effortless it is to score against people, because of his just unique ability to really do anything he wants offensively with that touch. And that's what he did last night. It was an absolute masterpiece out of him. And he got a lot of rest last night, which helped him, because Valanciunas played really well. And so he sat for a long time at the beginning of the fourth quarter. He had 27 points. They put him back in the game. They would have won it if he didn't play again. They would have won that game. They would have. They would have won the game by 6 points, 8 points, if he didn't come back in the game. He comes back in the game and he still drops 8 more points in like 5 minutes to close the game out. Just incredible, man. In a career of these type of performances, last night, for some reason, just visually was like stunning me, watching him operate against this team and doing whatever he wanted to, against an all-star capable center, by the way.
Right. It's because of the types of shots that he was taking. Even in a game like that, you would think, okay, it's a lot of post ups. He had his jump hook going, but really, if you look at the shot chart, it's all in the paint outside the restricted area. So it's in the paint, but these are floaters. These are 1-footed. And by the way, he almost always goes off his right foot. I don't know if you noticed this. It's this off rhythm thing where he leans onto his right foot and does a little push shot from, 8 feet. And he's just so automatic with it. And I think when we talk about Jokic, everybody says, okay, passing. What is his number one skill he's going to remember for? It's his passing. I actually think his touch from that zone, paint, non-restricted area, is his number one skill. Because there's some very good passers. I think he's the best passing big man of all time, but there's some other guys that are pretty good passers and do this. There's nobody that has his touch, not just amongst centers, amongst any player. There's nobody that has his touch from 8 feet where he's just automatic. And that's why right now, if you look at on Basketball Reference, in the paint or at the rim, 92% on the season. That's crazy. 3 feet to 10 feet, 70% on the season. 10 feet to 16 feet, 73% on the season, and 16 feet to the 3-point line, 100%. So you get him in that little touch zone. He doesn't miss. He shoots it at the same rate Zion shoots at the rim. That's what he shoots on that little one-handed push shot.
Those are, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. And this is your squad, right? This is you're heavily invested in the data with this team. Those are mind-blowing numbers that I haven't heard. And I'm about to go down to a production meeting. We're not doing that game tonight. Obviously, we're not talking about the Nuggets at all, but I'm gonna drop some of this knowledge at our production lunch, getting ready for the game tonight, because those are mind-blowing numbers. And I will say this: I think it's a coin toss when you talk about which trait
I know.
is he going to be most remembered for? Because his passing, he threw one last night. He threw an outlet pass last night to Cam Johnson for a dunk. That was one of the best passes I've seen all year, because he gets the rebound, he turns, he has a nanosecond to look up and process the situation, dribble. And then he throws a no-dribble two-handed chest pass that's an absolute rocket over the head of a defender and hits Cam Johnson perfectly in stride, where I don't remember if Cam Johnson dribbled or not, but he may have had to take one where he caught the ball. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he didn't. In this league, he probably could have taken 3 or 4 steps, and they would have let it go, because sometimes I think the play deserves to be just let go when it's that good. So I think it's a coin toss, but I think you're right. The ones that amaze me the most are the ones where he's coming out of a spin. Okay. His back is to the basket. He's coming out of a spin, usually toward his left shoulder, but sometimes he'll shoot the ball with his left hand too. But it's usually turning to his left shoulder. The ball's going to be his right hand. And there's no way he visually has locked onto the target by the time he's really going into the process of releasing the ball. And I'm talking 3, 4, 5 feet, 6 feet. I've seen him do it from 10 feet. He's spinning out. There's no way he's locked into the target where, like, that little process of your brain being able to then allow the muscle memory to take over, you really haven't had that process completed, because you need to be able to see the rim to do that. And he's already starting to go into his release, and it still hits nothing but the bottom of the net. His innate feel for distance and depth perception and amount of force that is required on a shot from whatever distance and angle is, honestly, it's unmatched. In the history of the game, I've never seen any player with his innate sense of those qualities when it comes to shooting a basketball. And that's not, to me, an overstatement at all.
And I think you're not used to it, because if you think about big men, they're constantly trying to force the other team to take 8-foot shots. If you force a big man to take an 8-foot shot, you feel like you won, because you're going to have rebound position. It's not a 3. It's not right at the rim. It's just, if you're shooting 90% or 80%, what did I just tell you he's shooting from that zone? It's 80%. If you're shooting 80% from that zone, it feels like, yes, we'll give that up. But for him right now, he's knocking it down every time. And it's just crazy, the run he's on. And now the question becomes, why? Why is he off to such an efficient start? And here's my thought, Legs, because one of the stories around the Denver Nuggets right now is that Cam Johnson has just not been shooting the ball well and not really been getting shots. To me, his low shooting percentage is one thing. He only took 6 shots in this game, and that's on par with what we've been seeing from him this year. It's just really low shot attempts. But my thought is, this Nuggets team, adding Tim Hardaway Jr., Bruce Brown, Cam Johnson, Jokic now gets to play all of his minutes with guys who know where to be and how to cut and how to screen. And it turns out the biggest beneficiary of it is Jokic. We thought Cam Johnson's coming to Denver, he's going to get the best shots of his life. Turns out Jokic is getting the best shots of his life, because the defenses are just honest. No, at 48 minutes of the floor on the court, the defense has to be honest. And it turns out Jokic just gets a lot of one-on-one and a lot of pocket passes in the pick and roll.
I like that. I definitely think that's one of the reasons. The threat level is higher on the perimeter. It means less traffic in his lap. And the guy this skilled, you're at his mercy. I also think part of it is because his minutes are down 3 a game. His shot attempts are down like 4 a game. And he's not going to line as much, which means that's even fewer shot attempts that actually show up on a stat sheet. And the reason is because they're not in any sort of panic mode if he's off the floor, that everything's going to go to hell. They now are able, and last night was a perfect example of it. And Valanciunas, he's so active. I thought they were force feeding him in the post a little bit in the first half last night, like over and over again. When I like him a lot at the elbows and top of the key, he did more of that in the second half when he came in. But he's giving them such productive minutes, and like they're able, because of their depth, and Jamal Murray, he got it going last night too. They're able to now just create this calm about their team that when Jokic is out and things are going to be okay, that means you can let him sit a 2-3 extra minutes. And I'm telling you, for guys that size, that are heavy, that extra couple of minutes does matter. Sometimes I think rest is overrated when you talk about guards and wings, 33 to 35 minutes. For bigger guys, it is a difference. When you can sit 2 extra minutes of a time when you're out of the game, you feel a lot fresher when you come in. And I just think it means, therefore, your lift is the same on all your shots, which means the timing of your release is the same on all your shots. When you get fatigued, you don't jump the same when you go to shoot the ball. And that means you release the ball at different times. That's what fatigue does to people. That's why jump shooters come up short on mid-range when they're fatigued, because they're releasing the ball at a different time than they do when they feel like really fresh. And it might be just a simple, literally just starting to come down out of the peak of your jump. That's going to hit the front of the rim, and that's because of fatigue. It causes those things. I don't think Jokic is as tired. In the minutes I've seen him this year, he seems fresher when he's in the game. And as a result, this is what you get. The skill levels on full display the entire time he's playing, where you don't get these 3 or 4 minute stretches where he looks a little bit gassed and he misses 2-3 shots in a row. He just doesn't have those stretches this year.
I think this is a great thought, and I hadn't even considered it, but I think you are right that not only is it fewer minutes, 33, but they are not as intensive minutes because they're not having to go to him a lot. And David Adelman, or just force it through double teams like he was in years past. That's what's really, really exhausting, is when you really have to power it up over guys and just try to make something happen. The Nuggets don't feel like they're ever trying to make something happen. They run their offense, they get a good shot, and then they go back on defense. And I think one of the things is he's posting up 1 fewer post up a game. I know that doesn't sound like a lot. The tracking data isn't always perfect on this kind of stuff, but David Adelman has talked about it being intentional. He said, hey, we're looking for all the ways we're trying to keep our guys fresh. And with Jokic, when we run him down on the post and he has to come across the paint and get position and hold position, that's the most exhausting thing he can do. And they're trying to be very strategic about when they use his post ups, even though they know that right now the best option in basketball is a Jokic post up. 1.4 points per possession on Jokic post ups this season. And they're trying not to do it too much to save him. But I think that is part of it, is not just the minutes, but also how hard are those minutes. They're trying to avoid the hard stuff.
Totally agree. And that was evident last night. I mean, it literally, the game ends. The guy has 33 points, shoots 16 for, or what do you have? 30? How many points did he have?
35.
35 points, 16 for 19 from the field. And I don't think when the game ended, he looked remotely gassed. It almost looked like he had just participated in some sort of a practice scrimmage. Like just his body language and energy, right? And there, because we both know what that looked, and he didn't have like the typical claw marks up and down his arms, and like
great point, yeah.
His nose gets all red. You know what I mean? Like, did you notice Rudolph last night? I didn't see him.
No, he wasn't out. He wasn't out there.
Really gassed. He's bleeding. He's got, like he just came back from it's a Civil War reenactment. Like he's coming back after the war. That's what he looks like halftime. His nose is all red. He's breathing heavy. He's bending over, grabbing his shirt. Like, I'm just not noticing that out of him this year. And a few minutes might not sound like a big deal to people, but I'm just telling you, for bigger guys, it is a big deal, because sitting out for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, if you're trying to win a game on the road in the second half, is a lot different than sitting for 6 or 7 minutes. It's a big difference. And so when he came in at the end of the game, like I said, he probably could have sat and they would have won the game anyway. I'm guessing. Like 9. Yeah, probably. But as it turned out, he came back in and just said, okay, let me just go on and just me turn off all the lights. It's like he did like the bed check last night that you do when you're at home and you're a father, right? You go around the house, you make sure all the doors are locked, and you shut that last light out and you go to bed. That's what Jokic did when he checked back in the game.
The last play, because he did check in and they immediately ran a pick and roll. He got to that 7-footer, knocked it in. But then he had an assist for a 3. But here, the last play legs of really what finished the game was Jokic handles in the pick and roll. They had like one bad possession before it. And so Jokic takes the ball in the pick and roll, pushes everyone down. They run the inverted pick and roll with him and Jamal Murray. And he knew what was going to happen. He knew the defense was going to go way under that screen and give him an open three because he hadn't had a three all night. And he just walks right into it, drains the three. And it was the ultimate, like, this game's over. Everything's over. Real quick, though, I do want to ask you about Cam Johnson. 5 points. He did not close in this game. They closed with Bruce Brown in his place. Again, they probably were going to win no matter who they went to. But Cam Johnson, to me, I love everything he's doing with the Nuggets. I think he fits in perfectly with what they're doing, and he's unselfish, and it's part of why he doesn't get shots up. But 5 points and only 6 field goal attempts, that's kind of been what's been going on. For 10 games, we're into this, and Cam Johnson has taken a handful of shots. He's the lowest usage of the starters. Is that a concern in your opinion? And does he have to be better? Or is that going to be his role in the season? Occupy one defender, and when the ball comes to you, make it, but the ball's not going to find you that often because you're doing your job just by being there.
Well, it's a concern if you talk about challenging the Thunder and potentially winning the whole thing. Yes, it's a concern there. Is it a concern that they're going to have a really good regular season, whether he ever gets it going or not? And I think that's kind of silly because he's too good a player to stay in this mode. I mean, he's 8 for 37 from the three for the season. He's got 8 made threes on the year. I said to you back in the beginning, I think I said it to you. Actually, we did a show after the preseason game I did with the Nuggets. And I said, at no point did they really make any effort to run anything for him.
Right.
Like action for him. And I said he's a better player than that. Like he's not an afterthought to just go stand around and spot up all night. And that I still don't think they're necessarily doing that for him. Now, the tough part here for Adelman is they're winning. They're playing well. Their offense is humming some nights. And it's like, so what are you going to do? You're going to disrupt that and get away from things you used to do? I don't think – look, Cam Johnson's not going to shoot 21% from the three for the year. He's not going to shoot 37% from the field for the year. He's just not. He's too good a player. He's going to find a hot streak. He's going to get his confidence up. He's going to then feel more empowered with a new team that's winning to take shots then that maybe are a little bit contested or like early in the clock. When you're the new guy and your team is winning, the last thing you want to do is ever put the vibe out there that like you're about you in any way. So you're like, perfect. He says all the right things. He plays hard the whole time he's out there. You can't tell me, though, when he leaves the arena, he's feeling unfulfilled because there's a dual component to everything with an NBA player. It is your own personal game that night. I don't care what anybody says. That's a part of who you are in your DNA. You want touches and shots and minutes, and you want to feel really a big part of what you're doing. And then there's the other part of you, man, that's just win at all costs. And both of those things can be true at the same time. He right now is struggling with that first part. Like, how do I inject myself a little bit more into this situation when there's not a lot of opportunity within the offense? We are winning games. We got dudes that are rolling. We've got a lot of different guys that can score. And I think he's really struggling with that right now. We're 10 games in. Let's see if we're still having this conversation 10 games from now. I doubt we will. It has to kick in for him at some point. It might only take one night, Adam. One night.
You think? I was wondering that if it's just like one game and the levees break.
So here's maybe what it takes one night. Maybe it's a game. Maybe Jokic sits or Jokic uncharacteristically has a bad half or Jamal Murray sits. And now there's just more opportunity at the start of the game. And for whatever reason, he gets left a few times. And now bang, he bangs 3 threes in the first quarter. I'm telling you, I've seen it be the impetus for a run. He's not going to go off and average 25 a game because there's too many guys on the team that touch the ball a lot. But I'm talking about, can he have a stretch where over 10 games where he averages 18 on 60% shooting? Yes. And I think that's coming sooner than later. It's going to take one night to kick in and where he's going to feel more empowered to stop just being comfortable offensively and actually be a little bit more assertive.
Well, I hope it comes soon. And you mentioned that they have a back-to-back tonight. I kind of think Jamal Murray won't play. We'll find out later today, but that might be the opportunity. So maybe you called it right here, Legs. Let me ask you a quick one on Sacramento. They just look a little rudderless. I don't know what it is they're trying to do. They have a lot of good players, but I don't really know what their identity is. And you saw Doug Christie before the game. They're 3-8. Before the game, he went off on kind of an unprovoked. He didn't take questions. He sat down and kind of gave a speech about how this is going to be a process. And he even cited the haters and the fakers, Legs. When I heard that pregame speech, I thought, oh man, they're going to struggle tonight. Because that to me almost projects a hey, we know we're bad right now. Give us a little bit of a breathing room. And I'm thinking it's 3-8 and you're in the Western Conference. There is no waiting.
There's no waiting. And I really, really, really like Doug Christie a lot. I really do. And I actually think he's incredibly bright. And I do think the guy can coach. So when you do that though, and look, he wasn't talking to like social media trolls. He was talking to the people that were in the room in front of him, the people that cover the team on a daily basis. When you take that approach, you now really have painted yourself into a little bit of a corner that I don't know you can escape, because it's not like you look at their team and you go, oh man, they just, for whatever reason, they got off to a slow start, but he's right. They're going to get rolling here pretty soon. I mean, has he noticed how loaded the Western Conference is? And look, you got everybody playing. Yeah. Levine's playing, DeRozan's playing, Sabonis is playing, Malik Monk is playing, Westbrook is playing. Like, these guys are all playing. And you look up and they're struggling at 3-8 in a loaded West. You're now taking the media, and I'm not saying you're going to go out there and kiss their rear ends and try to get them to just support you while you're struggling. But at the same time, you don't want to come out there and throw out the gauntlet like that if you don't know for a fact that this is going to turn around.
Right.
And I don't know that anybody knows that for a fact. Certainly Doug Christie probably doesn't know that. He might believe that because he's a confident guy and he believes in himself. He believes in his team and he's competitive and he's tired of getting beat up I'm sure he's getting beat up in the press right now. And so he feels like, well, I can just go out there and say these things and it's going to happen. That's not necessarily the case. And I think now you've created a situation where the media can get ticked off to the point where now they're waiting to pounce on you.
Yeah.
And so now let's keep an eye on what happens with this team, because like I said, they're not out there with two all-stars missing. Everybody's playing right now. And they're 3-8. And you look at the teams that they've schedule's been tough, man. They've already lost the Lakers, the Thunder twice, Minnesota, Denver. I mean, you're playing, you're playing really good teams in the West. They got a stretch coming up that is a little bit more favorable. And maybe you can get a 500 stretch in a 10-game stretch, but I just think it's an uphill battle. And that last night, I thought that was a little bit, something ticked him off to the point where he felt like he had to go out there and address that. And I just don't, now he's put a little bit more scrutiny on himself and on this team than even existed in the first place.
That's exactly what I was thinking too when I saw it ahead of the Nuggets game, but we'll have to see. The West is tough, man. 3-8, you're kind of out of margin of error. It's now or never for the Sacramento Kings. And to your point, they have had a tough schedule, so we'll see what happens. Why don't we take our first break? On the other side, we'll come back and just briefly talk on Celtics 76ers that happened last night. I know you have a take or two on that game. And then we'll get into this Mavericks situation and try to figure out what are they going to do from here. All of that and more on the other side. First, it's NBA tip-off. Means FanDuel is your home for live betting. So even if you miss the start of a game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join because FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/AllNBA. Make sure it's FanDuel.com/AllNBA to sign up today. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. You know that moment, the one where you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach or on the roof of your car or at a gas station 3 states away? Well, I've been there too. But luckily, I found Shady Rays, and it changed the game. They've got sunglasses that are made for real life. They're seriously good-looking, polarized, durable, and not stupidly expensive. And the wild part is, if you lose or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. So now you can actually wear your sunglasses without fear on hikes, to concerts, on the boat, wherever. Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com and use the code AC35 for 35% off of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Back here, segment 2 of the All-NBA show. Legs, I didn't get a chance. The other thing about this, last night, the game was on NBC/Peacock, and the start time in Denver was 9 o'clock. East Coast time, that would have been 11 o'clock start on the East Coast. So that took up my night. I wasn't able to catch a second game, but you caught Celtics 76ers. What was the notes you had on that game?
Well, it was an interesting one for me too, because again, you're getting a situation and the news comes out in the afternoon, Joel Embiid out with knee soreness. Yeah. And now you're going, okay, so I think everybody can kind of see where this is going with Joel Embiid. I mean, it's almost inconceivable to me to think that Joel Embiid is going to stay upright this year and be available for the Sixers. Certainly not to the extent that they had planned, which was only going to be maybe at most 40 to 50 games. I don't even know if he's going to be available for that now. If they're managing his minutes and his workload to the extent they have, and he still has knee soreness, that's a massive, massive problem. So they get this news in the afternoon. They go out there, they play again. This small lineup. Andre Drummond's out there with four guards playing fast, playing electric. And they get into a situation where they've got to dig out of a deficit in the fourth quarter after Boston makes a big run. They've got to dig their way out and find a way to win a game. And they did it again. And they did it by getting, contributions all over the floor. And last night it was Justin Edwards. So Justin Edwards is a guy who played, about half a season a year ago for the Sixers. And they kept talking about a lot on the broadcast. Philly kid, he's born and raised there. 2 state championships as a high school player. It was only a couple years ago, by the way. And he goes off. And it's just, I'm watching it, and he gets 27 points, and I'm watching this, or 22 points rather, in 27 minutes. And I'm watching this going, he's just another guy that fits in exactly with these other guys that are playing and doing what they're doing. With the Kelly Oubre and Quentin Grimes and Maxey and Edgecombe, and now you got another guy that is capable of going off on these scoring binges. And he really took over the game for the Sixers at a time when Maxey was resting, and Boston's got the lead, and you're trying to figure out, are they going to be able to win this game and get this done at home tonight? And Justin Edwards came to the rescue. And for me, it was once again a night where the Sixers were super fun when they're playing fast and smaller. Drummond's out there, and he's going to get his share of rebounds, and he's playing okay for them. But even when they go to Bona or whoever, a non-threat, and they just play with these 4 or 5 guards they have to take all the shots and play fast, they're a really entertaining team. And you look up, man, they're 7-4 to start the year with all of the inconsistency with when Embiid's playing. Haven't seen Paul George at all. And this crowd is so behind this team right now. And it was obvious last night the way they rallied behind these guys to get a win against Boston, who played really hard in this game, but just didn't have enough to close it out.
It is a fun style of basketball. I mean, to your point, it is 5 guys that can go off the dribble. Edgecombe's been in a rut since that really hot start. He's starting to struggle a little bit, but Maxey, Kelly Oubre, Edwards, and Grimes, and McCain. I guess we could throw McCain, even though he's just ramping back up into this right now. But all those guys can take you off the dribble, and it is a fun style. The Embiid question, though, hangs over all of it, as does the Paul George one. But the Embiid question was always going to be, can he mold the game to what they're doing well? Because in theory, it should work. He's a big gravitational force. He's going to open things up. But that hasn't been the case in practice, and now with this injury, I don't know what to make of it. Any other thoughts from this game?
No, man, just that. I think Philadelphia deserves to be in that category for one of the big surprises this year. And give Nick Nurse credit. You think about how hard it would be as a head coach when you've got a guy that's a former MVP and one of the most dominant players in the game, and the plan going into the season is he's playing this year. He's healthy. Like I talked to Nick Nurse 3 weeks before the season started, and it was like, according to that time frame, at that time, they expected to have Paul George and Joel Embiid ready opening night. So this was his plan. This is the style you're putting together. Your rotations, your system, everything is built upon these two guys being there, and they're really hardly there. Paul George hasn't been there at all, and Embiid's barely been there, and you're still 7-4 because you have adapted to what you do have, and you're taking advantage of it. This is why I've said for a long time, Nick Nurse, one of the smartest guys in the league. And last year was the year that never happened in Philadelphia. And now I just want to, again, give this guy some flowers, man. This is one of the bright minds in the game. To deal with what he's dealing with is not easy, and they have figured out a way to get off to a 7-4 start despite all of that with this team that has really kind of captured the city right now in the way that they're playing, man. People are really behind them.
I love it, man. Let's move on now, though, to a team the city is not behind, and that is the Dallas Mavericks, who last night let go, yesterday during the daytime, they let go of Nico Harrison. 9 months legs after making the big trade for Luka Doncic. You have expressed how you felt about that trade. You were a huge Luka proponent, especially in Dallas. And, that has obviously turned out to be disastrous, not just on the court, as the Mavericks are struggling out the gate at just 3-8. Same with the Sacramento Kings. But they look like they're not going anywhere, and the fan base had completely turned and soured. Do you think, because I have seen the argument made that, hey, Nico made this move, you should let him play it out now. Do you think that the Mavericks had to do it now just because of all the conversation, the noise, the distraction, all of those things? And what did you think when you saw that he was being fired?
Well, so, all right, this is a really interesting conversation because I don't want to say anything that where I sound like I'm contradicting myself. Let's go back, first of all, to when it happened, and because I just want to make sure people understand my feelings on it. Okay, I think it may have been one of, if not the worst trade in the history of this league. I think it's one of the worst trades in the history of North American team sports. I said it at the time. And here's why. I'm not saying Luka didn't have warts. And Luka wasn't probably difficult in a lot of ways, man, including the conditioning factor or the leadership factor or whatever, man. The way he plays kind of in a bubble some nights, and it's difficult for other people. Bottom line is this, man. You went to the finals. He's 25 years old. He's the most talented player to ever wear a Mavericks uniform. He's one of the top 5 players in the NBA, or even a shorter list than that if you want to put him on something shorter than that. You just don't do it. I don't care. I said it. If the guy is over when he comes out of the game and he's mixing martinis on the bench, I don't care. The guy gets 39-9 out of shape. Okay? Yep. You have to do everything in your power to get through to the guy to go grab that extra 15% of conditioning that you need from him. You have to, and if you can't, you can't, but it certainly wasn't time when they made the move. That wasn't the time. Okay, so you know how I feel about the trade. And again, Adam, for me is this. You ask, is the timing right? Well, so when it happened, I said to myself, yeah, okay, Anthony Davis can play. They got Kyrie Irving. Yeah, they're still going to be a good team. And I don't care how far Dallas goes or what they do. Doesn't matter to me because this whole trade is based on what Luka does in LA. That's what the whole thing's about. And if Luka breaks through there and has like a decade of success there where he wins titles and MVPs, that's all that really matters about this deal because he is the most popular player in your franchise, one of the most popular ever in your franchise. And you gave up on him that young. It was a matter of time. From that day, he was dead man walking. Nico Harrison was dead man walking.
I think you're right.
So the question is, was the timing right? But ironically, I don't understand the timing of this now. That's where I'm going to come to Nico Harrison's defense a little bit. He had a vision. We haven't seen that vision because of the injuries. And we might not all year. Who knows what happens with Anthony Davis when Kyrie comes back? I don't know. Cooper Flagg's a rookie. He's going to be a star in this league. I'm convinced it's not going to happen this year. So you have the worst offense in the league. And you're going to lose a lot of games this year if those guys don't play. So I don't know if it's going to happen this year or not. My point is, why now? If he's selling you on this is my vision and I never got to see my vision come to fruition, why now? The reaction is that bad. It's that visceral from the fan base. Okay, suck it up and just take it. Be a little bit more thick-skinned and understand that, like, now we're going to have no choice but to find out how this is going to turn out. It's the only chance we have to justify the trade to our fan base. But now you have absolutely, completely condemned that it ever happened in the first place. That's what you've done now.
Yeah.
So now there is no solution for the next guy that's going to make these decisions, because now it is all about this trade, and it will be for the next 15 years. That's my prediction. And that's what you've done. At least if you gave him a chance, Adam, to let these guys get back and get healthy, even if it's next season, and they can start winning, you can at least then take the position, we kind of knew what we were doing, even though I would disagree with it. But now you can't make that argument ever, because now you've fired the guy. So now you're admitting, and that means for all time going forward, you have admitted that this was a horrendous decision to trade this player.
Well, I think they would argue that there is no playing it out. 3-8, as we just referenced, your odds now of just making the playoffs become long, let alone making a run that would justify any of this. Even if you get your guys back, I think you look at it and say, are we realistically getting there with the way this roster was constructed at the trade and in the offseason? They don't have a point guard. They're not playing. They're the worst offense in the league. I think it's at least reasonable to look at this and say, we know how this is going to play out, so we can act now. But here's my biggest concern, Legs. Owners have certain responsibilities, good ones in particular. If you're going to be a good owner, you hire good people and you let them operate. You kind of manage from really far away. You just kind of manage to make sure things are feeling right. You have this new ownership group, clearly did not have the foresight to see what the backlash would be to this trade, to greenlight the trade, but then to say, oh, you're surprised at how upset fans were. How could you be surprised? That means you're not connected and have no idea, how this machine works. But now you have to make a big move and decide who runs the ship going forward. So you're 0 for 1 in these big things. And all of a sudden now they have to nail this next step of it. And they have shown nothing that tells you, oh, they're probably understand what's important now. After all this they've learned. That's my concern.
Very, very true. And I'm just saying, like, all that's true, Adam. And my point is just how I was there last year. I called a game there right after the trade. Okay. They were driving trucks around the building with digital, placards, right, that said, fire Nico. Nico must go, like that kind of stuff. Remember, he got booed out of a college basketball game there locally. This was, I called a game there. I mean, that's when it was like as hot as it can get. My point is, okay, the fans are upset. I get it. But so it's like, then why not just do that over the summer? Why not just do it last summer? You couldn't kind of make the determination a month after that trade, like, we may have messed this up. And now we're going to make the guy responsible for it after the season. I just don't understand now. You're just going to give it a shot and see what it looked like at the start of the year with Cooper Flagg. And maybe Cooper Flagg is this, immediate, ready to go guy, that's just winning games by himself as a rookie, which has happened in this league. There has been guys like Tim Duncan and Larry Bird that have turned things around immediately. Is that what they were waiting for? And now we can kind of bide our time. And now they're going, okay, well, Cooper Flagg is 18 years old and we're playing him out of position. And so we're going to have to wait a little bit longer, and Anthony Davis isn't playing. So let's go ahead and do it now because this isn't going anywhere. I guess that's what the decision is. Here's what I'll sum this up for Nico. Who, again, is a nice man. I like the guy. This is the most self-inflicted career implosion that I've seen. You went out of your way. You went out of your way to do this to yourself because there's not another. I don't care what anybody said after the fact. Right when it happened, there were some people that, I get it. I would have done that. And whatever, talking heads in media or even people within the league. Truth of the matter is this. If you went and you polled the other 28 teams not involved in that trade and you talked to their front office executives, nobody is trading Luka Doncic at that time.
Yeah.
So this is what I mean. This is the ultimate overthinking. Like what, what you're about to do to get creative here and watch. Just watch. Yeah, we're watching. And Luka's just off to one of the historic start offensively in this league. He's had one of the best starts in the history of the league in LA. They're winning games. I'm going to see him tonight courtside. He and Austin Reeves going up against this Thunder defense is going to be pretty fun.
That's going to be an incredible game, man. Real quickly here, I hate the just tear it down. Every time something goes south, it's everybody wants to tank and just do this or that. This is an example, though, where I think it's actually warranted. And the reason is Dallas does not have a lot of future assets, draft capital in particular. So what do you do if you're in this spot and you don't believe in your team, you're making this big move? And the question becomes, do you move off? Now, I don't think they need to do this 5-year tank for 3 years and, all of that stuff. But I do think you look at it and say, okay, our building block right now is clearly Cooper Flag. You've got some young talent there like Derek Lively. I think he's part of your future as well. Max Christie. You have some guys. But I think that every other asset they have on their roster, including Anthony Davis, Daniel Gafford, possibly even PJ Washington, who I think every team in the league would want. I think you look at that and say, is it worth selling off those so that we can recoup some assets, because we're going to need them? If we are building around Cooper Flag, we are going to need some of those assets in the future. So I look at it and say, they have their draft pick this year. I would value that as, hey, we really want a good player, so probably a little tanking this year. And I would try to move whatever players of value I can to recoup future assets to have flexibility as you try to make a team around Cooper Flag.
Well, listen, here's the tough spot they're in a little bit too. You talk about the pick they have that's got to play into what they're thinking. There's some big time talent at the top of this draft coming up, 2026. I haven't heard the latest. Have you seen the most recent credible time frame on Kyrie Irving?
No, but I mean, it's hard for me to imagine him being an impact player. Forget whether or not he comes back. How good are you when you're?
Here's the thing I wonder about, because as a guy, and I'm not Kyrie Irving. I'm not, so people want to jump down your throat and you compare yourself to players, but I did blow out my knee as an NBA player, and I know a lot of guys that have done it. And it's typically whenever you make the comeback, okay, unless it's right at the end of the year and you miss all of the next year just because that's just the timing of it. So now you've got almost 17, 18 months before you come back. It's a little different then. Right. But if you do it when he did it, and you come back, let's say they were a competitive team and he comes back and he wants to get in 25 games at the end of the year, he's not going to look like himself until the following season. Now he can have certain moments where it kind of looks like him, but it's just the way it is. And you know why? Because it's mental more than anything. You're hesitant to play in traffic. You don't want to land around people because you don't ever want to go through that again. So it takes you a while before you're not kind of looking all over the place and you're concentrating what you're supposed to, and the game just becomes natural to you again. And the reason I bring that up is this. I've heard, for the beginning, it was like February, March-ish. Well, if this season goes off the rails the way it looks like it might, what happens then? But don't you want to get in those 20, 25 games, get that out of his system? Or at that point, do you say, nah, man, forget it. He'll come back next October, which will then be like 20 months.
Right.
Since he played where he's fully healthy. He's probably played a lot of pickup ball and he's gotten a bunch of that under his belt and he's ready to go by that following season. So I think they're going to have to be looking at that as well. If they continue to lose games, AD continues to be in and out of the lineup or hurt. What do you do with Kyrie when he is ready to play? If you're playing for nothing and you don't care about winning anyway, do you want to get that rust off of him and get his confidence back playing in traffic and physically feel good about himself? Or you just say, you know what, that's fine. We're just going to wait until the following year. He's going to have to do that over the summer in pickup games and then in the following training camp. They're going to have to make that decision at some point.
Yeah. To me, I just see the decision is not that difficult. Again, you don't have to tear it all down at once. You have some guys on longer deals, guys that might be harder to move, but to me, you cannot go forward for Cooper Flag. The worst spot you can be in is get to 2030. This era has come and gone. And now you have Cooper Flag, who has no young players, no draft picks, no plan. You've got to sometimes see the long game here. And for them, I think it's recouping assets at this very moment. Let's end real quick because on Monday we had a great series of games, some game winners, that Bane game winner for Orlando, which was a huge shot and a huge swing for them in the season they're having so far at 5-6. But it was a great night where all the games felt good, Legs. It was kind of crazy. I was so mad we didn't have a show. Yeah, we have this graphic from our data analyst at the AOP who's been doing this stuff for our social media where you quantify how good of a night in the NBA it was, how many good games there are. You can see this graph. One of the best nights in the NBA over the last 25 seasons, just in terms of close games, big shot making late, and a couple other factors. And so it got me thinking, Legs, what was the most fun regular season game you can remember?
Man, so
the exact same game.
This question is so broad, right? And it's like thinking about all the games, and there's some that were incredible that we watched. I'm sure that we're just not thinking of. So if I had the ability to, like, you know, somebody quickly, like, give me the power in my mind to process every regular season game I've seen in the last, 25 years I've been at ESPN, I'd probably have other answers. But there is one that immediately did come to mind, and that tells me something.
Exactly.
If this game is right there with that quick recall when this question gets asked, that tells you all you need to know. And I'm going to go back to February 27th, 2016. And for a variety of reasons, this was a pretty incredible day. So my daughter was a Division III college basketball player. She played in a conference championship game that afternoon to go to the NCAA tournament.
Awesome.
And I went to the game with my wife and a buddy. They ended up losing, so it was pretty devastating. It was an afternoon game. Then at that night, let's go into the city in Philly and go to a sports bar, and there's a good slate of NBA games on. We'll get some food and watch some games. Golden State is playing at Oklahoma City. And here's why that game stood out to me. Besides the fact that Curry was incredible and he hits the bomb to send it to overtime from like a pull-up 35-footer. Like it's
I think
nothing.
more than 35.
Well, maybe it was 40 feet, whatever. But he shot a normal jump shot. You know what's ironic? That shot now, it would be considered a heave, and it wouldn't even count against his shooting percentage if he missed it. And he shot it like a normal jump shot. So he makes the shot, go to overtime. He gets another, I think, 12 points in overtime. They win the game. An incredible game against OKC. Durant went off. Westbrook was incredible. Ibaka had 20 rebounds. Clay had 32 points. Draymond had 14 points, 14 assists. Curry had 46. But here's why, Adam. It's so visual for me. I'm in this packed sports bar in Philadelphia, and I'm looking around while Curry's like doing his thing, and I'm like, there are people in here that don't pay any attention to the NBA that are glued to this game. And it told me this is the Curry effect. I've said it. I believe it. I mean it. It's all very objective, but this is how I believe, very subjective rather. Steph Curry for me is the second most must-watch NBA player in my lifetime. Like, I got to see Curry if he's playing, particularly at that time. Jordan would be number one. Curry was number two for me, and that pounded that point home. You could hear a pin drop as he was coming up the floor to make that shot to send that game to overtime. And people, like I said, there were casuals in there that know who Steph Curry is, but they're not watching an NBA game that doesn't involve the Sixers. And they're just kind of looking, watching the TV, and the place went berserk inside a sports bar in Philly for a guy that plays for the Warriors.
That game was the game I had too. This tells you something that we both unprompted just had to come up with a game we most remember, and that's the game we most remember. And what's crazy about it is they had already won a championship. This was 2016, but that was the ultimate Steph Curry just game. That's the ultimate Steph Curry experience of him hitting a bunch of tough shots and then ending the game. The audacity to take that shot, because there was still 4 seconds left after the shot went in. So think about that, Legs. He takes a 40-foot three-pointer with 2.5 seconds on the clock, meaning he could have gotten closer. He could have tried to have made a move or something and got to the three-point line, but he literally walks a step past half court and says, I'm going to end it from right here. And then, of course, he drains it. And it just was one of those games where you're like, man, this is incredible. Prime KD, prime Russ, prime Steph. And Steph comes back with the most memorable shot. So,
and he did it. I don't remember off the top of my head. I just don't remember. Was that game a national TV game? I'm assuming it was.
Yes. And I was at a bar too. I was at a bar with a friend as well. And I remember it just being this unbelievable, you got to be kidding me.
And to your point, the reason he did that was because he didn't want to risk running into traffic and getting the ball out of his hands. So he's like, no, I can make sure I can get it off from here, because the defense was still sort of backpedaling, and they're thinking, even by his standards, you're not about to pull that shot from there. One other kind of really weird statistical caveat from this game. All right. Draymond Green in this game, 14 rebounds, 14 assists, 6 steals, and 4 blocks. Do you know how many field goals he made in this game?
I know he made at least one, because I saw it at
0.
the end of the game. He had 0. I thought he had this backdoor dunk in that game. He had 0.
He had 2 free throws. He had 0
That's
field
crazy.
goals on a night in which he had 14 rebounds, 14 assists, 6 steals, and 4 blocks.
Man,
incredible. Imagine going plus 10 in a game that you don't make a shot. That's pretty incredible.
That's the Draymond right there. Filled up the stat sheet, but points. Kobe's 81 and 62. I just remember the month.
That's a good one. Yeah, you know what's great about that game? I was home that night and off, and I just happened to be scrolling around, and by the time I turned it on, he had like 40 something, and I'm like, all right, Kobe. I literally said, oh, damn, Kobe's going to go off tonight, man. Like, little did I know. But I also thought to myself, if you go back and watch that game, like, he operated in a lot of single coverage, like off ball screens when he was in the 60s already. I'm like, might want to throw somebody at him. Maybe maybe a blitz here and there. You thinking? So that's another one that came to mind.
He had a month in there where he was just scoring that 40 points every single night, 50 points, 60. There was a month stretch there where I was like, I can't miss a Kobe game, because I got to see every single one, because at any point he can go off. We got a couple super chats. I know you got to get out of here, Legs, so let's make sure we get through these. Johnny says, one of the best basketball YouTube channels. Adam and Legs complement each other brilliantly, and analysis is excellent. Who are your 3 title favorites at the moment? Well, first of all, thank you very much. I'll give you mine: Oklahoma City, Denver, Houston. And I think it's easy for me to say 1, 2, 3.
I'm right there with you. And it's funny, because you remember when you and I did it, and I did it a couple other places too, just previewing the season and making predictions or whatever. And I basically said, if the Cavs or Knicks don't get there this year, when the hell will they? When the hell will they, if it doesn't happen this year, right? So I've identified them as the 2 teams I thought were at the top. Now Detroit's making it interesting, some other teams in there. Yeah. But I did say this: no matter what, no matter who comes out of the East, we'll lose to the West winner. So my point being, I agree with you completely. It's those 3 teams. It's Oklahoma City, it's Denver, it's Houston. Those are the 3 top challengers for the title. And I would put OKC still at the top. I'd put Denver 2, Houston 3. Denver, the gap has been closed with Golden State from a year ago, which is kind of crazy, because it was a 7-game series a year ago.
Oh, OKC. Yeah.
I'm sorry, with OKC. Denver has closed the gap with OKC from a year ago, which is crazy, because they played them to a 7-game series last year. But I still do think the prohibitive betting favorite is the Thunder.
Yep. Without Jalen Williams, they're doing this. It's crazy, man. They are very good. What else we got? Johnny comes back. He says, also, you guys think Nico trade really was a solo run?
What does that mean?
Did he do that I think he means, did he do it on his own without influence, maybe? Look, I think he had a vision. I think he had a vision.
He did. He did. And everything that's been reported, and we have people that are, we have people that work for us at ESPN. That's their job, is to get this kind of information. Yeah. He was the one that sold the idea.
Yeah.
So it starts there, man. That's the guy that the light bulb went off in his head one day, and somebody should have quickly flipped that switch off that light bulb.
We got one more here. Psycho Blue, the homie, he says, Grayson Allen, the man they call Judas Shuttlesworth, has most certainly got game. Also, don't worry, Nico. Troy Weaver found a GM job after that disastrous Detroit run. Just be ready for the call. I don't think Nico's getting another shot in this league. I just don't know if that can happen.
I don't think so either. I just think there's and it happens with everybody, I think Nico, this was a move that he really went way outside the box to try to convince people that this was the way to go. And he's going to be remembered for it forever. Luka Doncic, assuming he stays healthy and plays the next whatever he plays, man, Luka Doncic might play another 12 to 15 years at this level, at an MVP caliber type player level. I don't know how much he's going to win championships. I don't know. Nobody knows that, but I do know this. He's going to go down as one of the greatest offensive talents in the history of this league, one of the greatest players in the history of this league. He is. And he will always be tied to Nico Harrison.
Well, it's going to be like a Jeopardy question is what he's going to be. He's going to be the daily double one of these days, the $1,000 daily double. He was the GM that traded Luka Doncic from the Dallas Mavericks. Everybody, we hope you enjoyed the show today. We are off. Legs is off until next Monday, although he is on the call tonight. Oklahoma City versus LA should be a great game. Definitely going to be locked into that one. And I'm back with Jason Tim on Friday, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel. You guys, I see a bunch of fans in the chat. Make sure you hit the like button for us. Make sure you're subscribed and share our stuff on social media. Let people know you're enjoying the show. Hit that like button. We'll see you Friday.
We all silly like the mayor.